In my journey of watch collection, I've encountered pretty much always one very interesting thing that I think kind of unites everyone in multiple different ways, which is, should we buy a certain amount of lesser expensive watches, or you get yourself just one big expensive branded watch? And I think the reason for that comes from a lot of different places. Maybe you just don't have the money to drop it on a big single purchase, which is more than fair, to be honest. Or maybe you just want something faster, rewarding, and here right now on the spot, which is also very much fair. Or maybe that's just how you collect. But even that how expands the conversation. Which watch should I buy? Should I buy something more expensive or less? Should I get myself something for daily purposes like a beta? Or should it instead be something bit more refined? And these are all quite interesting questions, but instead I want to take a look at an interesting trap that watch collecting often springs on you, that the majority of collectors or content creators, I feel like, don't really talk about that much. So let's do that. Hi everyone, my name is Gleb and you're on Bands and Buckles. So let's talk about a watch collecting trap, I think. Let's say you're just starting your watch collecting journey. You get sucked into this wormhole of different brands and models and everything connected to it and decide to spend a bit less on your first watch just to kind of dip your toe into it, and you get yourself a Casio, for instance. Then you get another, then you often get another. And now suddenly you're in the loop of buying different Casio models that all go for, let's say, maximum $100. However, if you combined your 5 Casios that you've just bought, you could have got yourself, let's say, a Brew watch or a Seiko. Wouldn't it be worth then to just buy the Seiko in this case? I think the answer to this question is slightly more complicated than it seems, and to understand why, I suggest let's take a look at the bigger picture of it. You can't just say that since you got those 5 Casios, you have essentially bought 5 lesser watches, comparing it to this Seiko. The whole reason is there's a conversation Casio has got here is because it presents massive value for money. Perhaps it won't be high horology or a hand-painted dial, but they have a unique design, endure a ton, and are insanely accurate. Therefore, can we really argue that Casio is a lesser watch brand than any other brand? Another thing is the amount of choice that we currently do have when it comes to picking your first, second, or any other watch actually. It's not limited to traditional watchmakers anymore, but is severely expanded by micro brands and independent companies, and a lot of new, very fresh, very young companies as well. It's not just white noise either. All of that presents a whole different twist on how a wristwatch should look like. All sorts of different shapes, styles, colors, straps and fabrics, bracelets and designs. All of that is making your choice of that next purchase all the more rich and difficult at the same time. I think it would be even fair to say that we are slightly oversaturated with the amount of choice that we have, as many a brand often doesn't really have a lot of wiggle room in order to come up with something new and have to resort to either something eccentric, bold, or perhaps just plain weird. One of the most popular videos you can find is the 10 wristwatches in this or that price category, or this or that type, like diver or something. It's not only because we essentially do like looking at such things and watching such videos and see those watches and hear the opinions on them, but it's also because there's just a lot of them to choose from. Although mostly those videos talk about only a handful of watches that everybody knows about, but oh well. And that is the beauty of our hobby, rather than its downfall. I think it's important to hold this emotional conversation in regards to watches. What watches to buy? Why do we like to buy them? Or what's the idea that is so interesting behind this specific watch? I think approaching the conversation from this standpoint is far more interesting, rather than just looking at it as a spreadsheet or specifications, as we are inherently bringing soul to an object that we choose to spend our time with. It's an extension of our personality, and therefore it influences our choice and makes each collection very unique and interesting based on those preferences. whether they come up from deep horology knowledge, visual preference, or emotional attachment to brands and models. In those less expensive watches, the amount of curiosity that can be exercised when choosing your watch is actually phenomenal, because you're not just limited to a handful of brands that are going down the classical trope of watchmaking, but instead you can browse a whole plethora of different things that are there to explore. Casio has millions of things a person can explore and like, if Japanese watchmaking is your thing. Same goes for Seiko or for Citizen. You can take a look into Swatch Tissot if Swiss is your thing. Then there's a lot of micro brands: Brew, Baltic, Laurier, Nizumi, Autodromo, Boudery. The list just keeps going and going. The amount of countries that you can visit in order to browse the catalogue is just insane. Because essentially, it is not about the amount of money you are spending in order to purchase the watch. We aren't chasing the perfect value in spending our hard-earned money just to say that we've optimized our watch money spending habit. It is a deeply emotional hobby that at the end of the day is supposed to bring an ultimate amount of joy in our lives, and it shouldn't be dictated by whether the purchase is optimized in its price or not. It should be navigated instead by our emotional satisfaction from the product, paired up with the industry knowledge, and perhaps it is a good idea to pick things that belong to certain environments. Apart from that, who cares if you have 5 Casios of all types of your activities, or a Seiko that is your do-it-all, as long as you're the one having the most amount of joy from wearing it. Thank you for your attention. See you next time, because next time we're going to talk about something quite interesting. We are going to talk about this. See you in my next video, as we will talk about Swatch X. Swatch X, anything really. Probably it's going to be all 3 things at the same time. Oh well. Right. Cheers. I'll see you next time.